When thinking about my vision and values for being a teacher and the kind of leader I want to be, there is one key word that I think summarises it all: positivity. I want my future classroom to be positive. This may sound like a simple statement, but I think there's a lot to be said about the effects of a positive environment and the use of praise. This module presented the idea to me that praise can motivate children, but through discussing this concept with my peers, thinking about this more critically, I now believe that there should be a focus on not just praising correct answers and good outcomes, but the whole learning journey and the effort that goes into things. Now, some might say that to be a teacher who focuses on the learning process is quite difficult in today's society, when you have people like Ball and Kraft suggesting that teaching is becoming more and more about performativity and just getting the results. Not everyone would agree with this quite harsh view on the future prospect of education, but as someone who found the idea of performativity dictating the teaching profession quite disheartening, it is encouraging to read research by the likes of Galton, who still emphasise the importance of the process, the trial and the error, and for children to know that it's okay to find things difficult. And so as a leader, I want to create a positive and a safe environment, a place where the journey of learning, with all of its stumbles, can take place, and where the process of learning is valued. To discuss some personal experience of this, I've been fortunate enough to lead a committee whilst at university, and I've learnt skills from that which I know I want to take with me into teaching. In this experience of leadership, there were times when other team members didn't think things through and made mistakes. But for me to have just told them their errors and mess-ups wouldn't have helped them. If I wanted them to learn and not make the same mistakes again, then I needed to use encouragement and positivity. Highlight what they were doing well to give them the confidence boost needed to progress and have things work better next time. And I think good leaders in the classroom need to be positive too. Children don't need their mistakes constantly pointed out. They need the encouragement and a positive environment to know that to make mistakes is okay and that we can learn and grow from them. I believe that positivity is the best way to lead, but I also think that good leadership is about not always being the leader. I believe it is about teamwork, delegation, motivating others and providing opportunities for them to grow. Leading others to become leaders themselves, whether that's a child or an adult. I think a good leader creates a positive environment that encourages others to take responsibility for their learning, recognise those mistakes for themselves, and learn from them. I've seen good examples of this in some of my previous school experience, when a teacher created a positive environment in which children are praised for effort and trying, and this positive way of thinking becomes almost infectious. It is a mindset taken up by the children too. They become leaders of their own learning, where they are able to recognise the positives in the process, and you even see children praising their peers for their effort. This is definitely what I would like a classroom environment to look like. Pupil suggests that student teachers, like myself, base our view of teaching from those past experiences. I do agree with this view, as it's what I've done with that experience of a positive learning environment. It does just lead me to think that I should have an awareness, though, that not all teachers in a school will have the same views as me or act in the same way. Certainly when you think about all the discussions around performativity and the constant requirements we must meet, other leaders may feel that there isn't time to praise effort when it's only the outcomes and results that really matter. But perhaps as a leader who is passionate about my vision, I can be positive and infectious in that positivity and encourage my fellow leaders to do the same. But how will positivity develop the whole child? Well, I believe as a leader I need to be positive about all areas of interests. I believe in people having different strengths in areas of interest, but that no one of those is any more important than the other. That is why teaching a whole and wide curriculum is important. Children need to be exposed to or have experience of the whole and wider curriculum and not be categorised into one focused area or box. You're the sporty one. It is possible and good to have a range of knowledge and interests. I speak from personal experience as a child whose favourite subjects were maths and art, and I enjoyed almost every subject in between too. Unfortunately, Adams, Monaghan and Wills talk about this idea of the whole child being neglected because there is a lack of balance in the curriculum. They mainly refer to the importance of a personal development, being just as important as the academic development for children. But I want to add to that and say, what about everything else? Surely children's physical, creative, imagination development are all just as important as a child's academic development. A true, whole education should love and praise all areas of learning. Some may question the point of a balanced curriculum, when it can be suggested that the government doesn't agree with that view, when the national curriculum gives 44 pages of content to the maths curriculum and only 2 to art and design. But a video made by teachers from a London secondary school has really inspired my view on the benefits of giving more of an emphasis to subjects that sometimes get less recognition. The video discusses how the arts are being sidelined as a lovely luxury extra, but how this school, who are outstanding according to Ofsted, have the arts at the centre of everything they do, seeing it as vital to students' learning as maths and English is. Why? Because art creates a whole school ethos that says learning is great, and that you can take risks and fail without falling apart, and that is okay. According to one educator from the video, being creative is an intrinsic part of who we are as humans, and so of course it should be an intrinsic part of our education too. But what does that mean for me? The focus in school shouldn't just be on a select few subjects, the academic ones deemed important by government. The arts, if seen as an approach and not just a subject, can help develop a child for life. I need to be passionate about all areas of learning, encouraging children to take on the whole curriculum with a positive attitude, where not just academic learning, but any and all learning is praised and seen as a good thing. Or perhaps that question should be, how will I ensure pupil progress? After all, a teacher is still required to perform, but how does my vision of positivity fit into tests and pupil progress? Well, I think that if children have the right attitude to learning, a positive attitude, it will naturally motivate them to want to learn and progress. The educator, Rita Pearson, gives a great example of how positivity can impact a learner, how putting +2 instead of -18 on a test score can motivate a student to say, yes, I can do better. She states that teaching and learning should bring joy. How powerful would our world be if we had kids that were not afraid to take risks? Every child deserves a champion. And I couldn't agree more. As a leader, I want to be that positive champion that encourages others to push themselves, to see the joy of learning, and motivate children to be the best that they can be. But also, I stick by the idea of the whole curriculum being important in order to make an impact. We can't just focus on the maths and the English or those subjects that are the easiest to assess. A positive outlook on the whole curriculum can help children progress. For example, I spent some time in a local junior school that is outstanding according to Ofsted. They meet all the requirements for numeracy and literacy. And yet, every year that school holds an art week. The school has a studio specifically for music, drama and dance, and they have an all-weather outdoor terrain for physical activities. I think the reports and the grades from this school show a clear example of how a love of the whole curriculum can help children attain in all subjects. Buchanan says, when there is a close fit between a teacher's identity and her school culture, the teacher feels like she belongs. As someone who believes in leadership being about positivity, I would want to work in a school that supports me in this vision. Or perhaps I should be looking for a school that doesn't currently hold the same view so that I can implement my vision there. Either way, what I need to do now to make sure this vision of leadership I have is actually how I lead is to practice creating a positive environment. It may not come naturally to see a person's positives when the negatives are the first things that come to mind. And it's perhaps even harder to help a child recognise their strengths and abilities when they have a negative attitude to learning. But if I can work on developing my own positive attitude in order to create an atmosphere of positivity, then perhaps that positive environment will rub off just a little bit on a child and help them to recognise their own potential in a positive light. And I believe that has the potential to impact not just a child's learning of the curriculum, but their attitude to life.